All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Aftermath, the penultimate regular season finale for Clemson and the home finale for the Tigers. Clemson takes care of its business 45-10, not without some hiccups and not without a quarterback being the new fan favorite for the rest of time in Chris Denson. David, I'll throw it to you first. Lots of nitpicks, weird trinkets, weird stuff in this game that makes you concerned for South Carolina. But before we get into that Gamecocks preview, or I guess first preview, what were your thoughts on tonight?
Just, like you said, really weird. The fact that Clemson now has some injuries that they have to deal with. Amari Adams, the freshman standout defensive tackle, done for the year. I think I had told you that maybe a couple of days ago, that I thought that was what we would eventually wind up hearing. Olsen Pat Henry, the tight end, who does a really good job blocking, also out for the year. Jaheim Lawson, the defensive end, no idea why he was playing in the third quarter at that point. But, of course, they had to bring in the starters again because it got so bad. He's now kind of iffy with something going on with a high ankle. You've already got Walker Parks and Braden Jacobs out. And, the fact that it was 31-10 and Dabo Swinney is seen on the TV broadcast saying it's Furman, and he had to put in defensive starters, had to put in Parker and Helt and some of those guys and Brown and get him back in there to get a stop. So all of a sudden it's not a 2-score game against the Paladins, who have made a lot of people look really good this year. It just kind of makes you – this is just what it is. This is not a great team. I'm not real sure it's a good team. And South Carolina, after the tragic loss, for them at Texas A&M, they do a 51-7 honor over Coastal Carolina, and they await the Tigers next week.
Yeah, South Carolina, they're not playing for a bowl game. They're playing to embarrass and be a spoiler on a season that Clemson's won 3 straight. They're riding high, you could say, and Swinney says they're playing their best football, whether you believe them or not. And
I don't.
It's a group that at least has momentum heading into Columbia and perhaps an opportunity to get up a tier in terms of bowl games. They're officially bowl eligible after the victory today. And so that streak lives on for Dabo Swinney. It looked to be in severe danger after the team fell 3-5, but they like a phoenix, rose from the ashes in a very goofy game against the Paladins. We talked a lot on TigerNet about Brad Brownell's 5-for-5 substitutions. Well, Dabo went up them and went 11 for 11 on the defense, and they needed to stop, and they got it very quickly. Wade Wood has told us afterwards that Furman was talking a little smack. They were feeling themselves. They're like, you know what? We're down only 21. We're going to just start yapping. It's the final game of the season. What's the consequence to that? And Wood has said they were a little motivated to get a stop. And in the subcontext of all of that, it's against Furman. So there's that sort of caveat of it's not a great moment, but at least they have it.
Well, I think that's probably the difference between this team and other teams that we've seen in the past, and that, Clemson could roll in those second unit guys and third unit guys, and they were still going to be better than Furman. And this group rolled in there, and they didn't look great at all. These are kids that have been begging to play. They want to play, and then you get them out there, and it just doesn't look good. You had Evan Brown Schuler out there, and some of those other guys, Kobe McLeod, that who's played well. But I'm just saying, it's guys that have been saying, hey, we need to play, and then they get out there, and it's not as good as you had hoped. Hedden, Trey Hedden, the quarterback for Furman, has helped. He helped Clemson out a little bit today. Now, 22 career games, 32 turnovers for Trey. He does some really good things, but he can also do some kind of silly things that really helped out the Tigers and the defense out there tonight. But again, it wasn't one of those complimentary football type of games. I thought Cade Klubnik was a little jittery. Maybe it was just senior night. Only 9 of 15. Still completed some big passes. Vizina was 9 of 15, but for just 52 yards. You would expect a little bit more than that. Some of his throws were a little bit off target. Pierman was inconsequential, and that's when it all just kind of started to be a little bit of a snooze fest. But then what happened?
Oh, man. We were waiting for it. We had been told this kid's a gamer, and he can play. But there's still some things behind the scenes that need some tinkering. He needs more time in the crock pot, as Swinney would say. But it's going to be tough to stave off a fan base that saw some life at that position. And I just want to walk you through the first drive, David. I want to be a storyteller for this one. So Chris Denson on that drive, I want to walk you through it. I want to take you step by step and really just give you a taste of the Chris Denson experience for Clemson. So there's 2:55 left to go. Hold on. Let me make sure I get the right one here. And I do not have the right one. Okay. I've got it, David. It's 10:18 left in the ball game. Clemson not feeling great. It's 31-10. There's a little bit of unease in the building. David Eziumume takes the ball 2 yards up the middle. Very routine. And then here comes Chris Denson, 5-yard scramble. And then on 3rd and 3, he told us what he remembers most about this 50-yard scramble was the green grass. Dog. Then Chris Denson ran for 14 more yards and got to the 4-yard line, where he completed a 4-yard touchdown pass to Logan Brooking that might have exploded the stock of this Coastal Carolina flip. And now, David, it's interesting. I want to say to the Clemson fans that I know you have it ready, you're typing it out, but they played against the Furman backups.
Yeah.
I think that in a season like this, up and down, they've been wanting to see a little bit of juice at positions. You've got that at receiver with Wesco. You've got that at DB with Avion Terrell. Quarterback's been hit or miss. Klubnik's had his moments of brilliance. Klubnik's had his moments of boos from the crowd. And so for Denson to come in there and immediately kind of flip a script where the game is kind of a snoozer, I think is significant. And I think it kind of paves the way for him not only to be potentially a suitor this offseason. Guys, I know it's against Furman, but it doesn't take much for teams to want to poach your guy for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Denson's got it. And I think Clemson has something here. Maybe not next year, but a little bit more time in the crock pot. There's something to this.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm not really ready to anoint him again. It's Furman. We didn't see him go into tight coverage. We don't know how he reads a defense or anything like that. I'd like to see him out there with some of the ones against some better competition. For me, I'm going to take it a little bit more immediate, knowing that South Carolina, that defensive front can be tough at times. If Dylan Stewart and company play next week, it's going to be really hard for Clemson to run the football. They have offensive line issues, and they were having trouble running it against Furman today. And that has been a common theme all year long. And I don't know that you're going to go out there and run for 200 yards against South Carolina. Do you put a package in for this kid against the Gamecocks to kind of come in and maybe loosen some things up? Is it a tall ask to ask a true freshman to go in on the road down at South Carolina and perhaps, tell him he's got to go out and carry a series or two? Maybe, but he has that it factor. He looks the part, and I think I'd give him a shot. I think I would put something in for him, and it can't be just running the football. You got to let him throw it to keep the defenses honest, and I think I would do that. I think Clemson's going to have some real issues running the football against South Carolina next week, and I think I'd let this kid go try it. I would before I would let anybody else come in behind Klubnik. I would definitely put something in there to see if he could go do something. I don't know. Maybe you think a little bit different from me, but I'm just thinking more immediate what's going on. And then do you ask to see a little bit more of him in the bowl game just to see, does Clemson have to go heavy into the portal? I still think they need a portal quarterback to come in and kind of shake things up. But I'll let you know kind of where you stand. But yeah, Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, was out there tonight going, oh, that's another 0 on the end of the check. Oh, that's a nice rush. That's another 0 on the end of the check.
Before we get back to this video, we'd like to thank the title sponsor for this podcast, Newton Scott and Associates. This team is headlined by Jeff Scott, former Clemson assistant coach and 2-time national champion, as well as Eric Newton, a longtime local and trusted real estate partner. These two are teaming up to provide a first-class experience for all Clemson fans. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or build in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can trust Newton Scott and Associates. Choose the same team that Clemson coaches are selecting when they're looking to buy, sell, or build, all the way from Tigertown to Lake Kiowee. For more information, you can find them at newtonscottsc.com or by calling the number 864-722-9062. That's 864-722-9062. 9062. Now, let's get back to the video.
He's adding a 0 to the end, and he's adding a number uptick at the beginning of whatever contract he ends up signing, wherever he ends up. But I agree. I think that also the added caveat that you want him to throw the football, I would try to design some sort of fake QB scramble up the middle. Exactly what he did against Furman today, where he's rushing up the middle and there's that seam, but you bring the linebackers down and maybe you have Bentancur run a seam up the middle and see if you can catch South Carolina off guard a little bit, provide some wackiness into this. I think it's time to unleash everything you got, especially when you're trying to avenge a loss where South Carolina, in all honesty, should have knocked Clemson out of the playoffs if not for Fran Brown and his mighty Syracuse Orange that have fallen off the map. Poor guy. But David, you had mentioned something about the run game. I think it's important to talk about it, is this new look offensive line was bad today. Harris Sewell, Colin Sadler, a stark difference from what Braden Jacobs and Walker Parks were able to provide. It gives you great concern that FCS Furman was able to push them around in the middle, and that's where Clemson wants to dominate with Adam Randall, and they could not get that done today.
Could not get it done. You're supposed to be out there running for 5 and 6 yards a clip against these guys. They weren't able to do it, and that's. I now say, let me say this too. Dabo Swinney has no problem getting cute and putting Peter Woods in on the goal line or putting Peter Woods in on 4th and 1 at his own 39. He has no problem throwing end zone passes to a walk-on offensive lineman named Chapman Pendergrass. He has no issue bringing in Ian Shefflin to throw the ball to him in the end zone, especially even at a place like Georgia Tech, where you look at some of these games that Clemson lost and you go, man, what if? He's had no problem getting cute. And to hear that maybe this kid would not be ready at South Carolina for something like that. No, get cute on that. Let's see what happens there. It would just be a little bit befuddling. But yeah, this offensive line was there in the middle, not really good. And again, that's why I think it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle next week.
Yeah, South Carolina's reeling. They certainly they have the coastal win to their name now, but still there are close losses that have been heartbreaking. They've been in similar spots to Clemson, only competition's different, sure, but Florida State, Louisville, wacky. Clemson's able to get it done. Alabama, A&M, wacky. South Carolina's not able to get it done. I understand that it is totally different. It is like comparing David and Goliath between those four schools, but it has been that kind of season for Carolina. But what I think is worth pointing out is this is a team still with dudes and a group that's already done this and walked into Clemson in the belly of the beast and was able to take care of business. Lenore Sellers in that fourth quarter turned into Superman and was able to make things happen. Dylan Stewart going to watch that Furman tape and probably start salivating at the mouth, knowing of the opportunities that he may have next week against this offensive line. I think from a pure talent standpoint, it's not this far lopsided affair. I think Carolina and Clemson are pretty comparable.
Yeah, what kind of to me is a little bit of the difference maker. South Carolina's just not been able to finish this year. Obviously, we know all about the big lead that they had at Texas A&M, but this is a team that, Missouri's pretty good. They were at Missouri and lost by 9. They hung with LSU for a little while. They had the lead on Alabama by 2 touchdowns. Then they had the big lead on Texas A&M. I mean, this is a team that's been in some games, right? Like they've gone against some really good competition and they've been in some games. And, I don't know that Clemson has played anybody near what South Carolina has played. I don't think Clemson's played anybody as good as an Alabama. LSU would come close. But now we know they really weren't all that good. I don't think Clemson's played anybody like a Texas A&M. So, South Carolina's a little bit more, to me, tested. And, again, we're still waiting on Clemson to put together that complementary football game where offense, defense, special teams. Today, Dabo getting cute again. He running Robert Gunn out there on punt. It was a 5-yard punt. Hoosier, his 11 field goal streak of 11 in a row, now done with the miss. Jack Smith was good as he's been all year, but Clemson's still looking for that one game to play complimentary football.
Maybe you find it against the rivalry game, David. Who knows at this point? I think there's something to this game, and players talked about flipping that script after such an emotional – it's a crescendo for them, a final home matchup, final kind of lay it out in the sun, lay it out in the hill. So it'll be interesting to see how this team moves forward. Thanksgiving's here. Very thankful for TigerNet crew and the TigerNet folks. Good or bad, opinionated, but all in good fun for sure. David, any final thoughts before we wrap this little thing up here and head to bed and prepare for a big week?
No, it's now rivalry week to me, and we will get started on that. Finish up some stories from this game, but it's all about looking ahead to South Carolina at this point. And that's all a big part of Thanksgiving week around here.
There we go. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. God bless y'all. Have a good one.